Hello and welcome to Concept 7. Man, this is an exciting concept. I hear this question probably 20 times a day. Why do I need to keep coming back to the chiropractor when I don't hurt anymore? Well, the thing about subluxation that we're going to talk to you about today is the portion of subluxation that we call silent but deadly. It's the part that when you don't hurt but yet you're still subluxated. So I want to take the time today to really explain that because I get the question all the time. Why do I need to keep coming back when I don't hurt anymore? Why am I still on the schedule when I don't have that pain that I started with? Well, for many of you, you've had those subluxation patterns for years and years and years. And I mean, when I say years, some of you have had these subluxation patterns for 20, 30 years. And you tell me about them. You say, oh my gosh, when I was 12 years old, I fell off this house and I couldn't walk for 2 weeks. And we look at your spine and we see 20 years of damage and arthritis and scar tissue and mangled mass. And guess what? Just like I talked to you about in your first report of findings, pain is usually the last thing to show up and the first thing to go away. So one of the key concepts that we want you to understand is that you will start feeling better. We have good times and bad times, and we start having good days and bad days, and then you start having more good days than bad days, but it doesn't mean the correction process is ended. That's why we rely on the scan technology to tell us kind of how deep the stain is in the carpet and what's happening with that. So one of the key things to understand is a couple pieces of research that are really important. One of the pieces of research is that we can have nerve root pressure that affects the sympathetic systems that has no symptoms at all. Now you say, how do I really understand that? Because I thought I didn't have symptoms. Well, not symptoms you'll recognize as chiropractic because it can affect the sympathetic part of your nervous system. Remember that first day we talked about the chart, the yellow portion that had all the different colors on it, but then you have the one that goes to the ears, eyes, nose, throat, stomach, bowel, bladder. That part of your nervous system is the part that gets affected by those silent but deadly subluxations. In fact, it's the number one reason we see children. Gutterman, in some of his studies, showed that you can have a minor amount of pull on the cervical spine in the birth process and cause these effects. But the current day research shows that 90% of kids leave the hospital with a subluxation in their cervical spine that's going to affect their sympathetic nervous system, which is usually going to weaken their immune system, ears, eyes, nose, or throat, colic, stomach, or bowel. Now come on, how many of us don't know children that are sick all the time, they're puny all the time, they've got colic, and guess what? That affects the fabric of the family when that happens. You take a colicky baby, do you know that colic is the number 2 reason for unintentional child abuse? That's crazy, but it happens every day because they don't know what's causing interference. Why is this child hurting like they are? And yet that it can't tell us that, hey, I'm hurting inside, so they just cry all the time. Well, you know what? If we felt like they felt, we had those cramps going on, we'd probably cry all day too. Those little things can happen, but guess what? What happens when we don't have symptoms? We're still working on the depth of those subluxations. We're still grinding out on how deep those memory patterns are. Just like a workout pattern, you can't go to the gym and build a bicep overnight. Same thing with a neurological pattern. You can't rechange the pattern of that neurologically with a couple adjustments. It takes a program of adjustments, which was why we put many of you on a correction program. And when you were done, guess what? We said, here's wellness care. Keep trucking along so that you can continue to make progress like you did. So, remember, subluxations can be silent but deadly. Many times we have a fall on the weekend, we don't hurt right away. But if you understand subluxation, it's an important part of coming and getting checked for subluxation. Until next time.